Over spring break, I had the pleasure of visiting my grandma and my other family back up in New Orleans. So after the break, I was feeling really refreshed and inspired and didn't mind the thought of cooking. So I decided to celebrate, well, not really celebrate, but honor my trip to New Orleans by making some red beans and rice. So here are all my ingredients I'm going to be using today. I'm going to start off with the Tony Satcher seasoning. You can use any Cajun seasoning for this recipe, but this is just what I use. Some Camilla beans. These are red beans I like to use. This is what my mom and my grandma use, so of course I'm going to use them as well. And then the Pick Sweet Farm seasoning blend. I use a seasoning blend with everything. It's quick, it's easy, and it tastes just like fresh vegetables. And I decided to use smoked turkey. Typically my family would use like some type of pork, but I don't really care about pork, so I don't care for pork, so I decided to use smoked turkey wings. And here are all my ingredients laid out that I'll be using. So first you want to start off by measuring out your beans. This was a 2-pound pack, but I only wanted to use half, so I used 1 pound, and I'm rinsing off the beans. It's important to rinse off the beans because sometimes there's like some foreign objects mixed in with the beans, and it's good to soak them, and those foreign objects will suck up to the top, and you can just remove them from there. I didn't have any of that, so I was lucky, but I strained the beans, and I prepped my beans. I pre-cooked them. As you can see here, I'm just pouring the dry beans into the pot, and I'm just going to add a little bit of water at the bottom so that they can simmer and all the steam can gather. It's a good way to like bring out all the flavor. And then I'm going to add my smoked turkey wing for that smokiness flavor of the red beans. And like I said, some people use pork for that. And then I'm adding in my seasoning blend, and I'm just going to stir that all in. I'm not using any measurements. I'm just doing what I think looks the best, but I would say I used about a cup of seasoning in there and just like a cup of water. And you don't want the beans to dry out, so if the water is all out, then add some more in order to let those beans really like marinate the flavors. So here I am right now. I'm prepping the crock pot, and I added that plastic, it's the crock pot liner. It's honestly very efficient and great to use because it's good for cleanup. And you see me here now adding, the recipe called for 8 to 10 cups of water, but I will say I use about 9 cups of water. I added that into my crock pot. And then after about 15 minutes while I let the beans pre-cook, I stirred them. And I think after this I did allow them to cook for a little bit longer because I felt like they needed to be. But after that, I poured them into my crock pot, let them all, there's a lot of water in there, and I stirred it up one more time for good measure. And then I added some seasoning here. You'll see I kind of put too much seasoning, but I was able to fix that in the end by adding more water into the pot and letting it sit for a little bit longer. So I added the seasoning, and I'm just going to cover up the crock pot and come back tomorrow morning to check on how the beans look. I let them cook overnight on low, and that's all you basically have to do. So after that, the next morning, I come in and I check the beans and see how they're looking. They looked pretty good to me, but like I said, they were salty, so I did add more water and then let them sit a little bit more to thicken back up. Also, stirring it on a higher temperature will allow the beans to thicken up, and you can do that. Here you can see my brother is making the rice. I asked him to make the rice because, of course, the dish is beans and rice. So he's just, cooking regular white rice, and the beans are just about done, so I'm gonna serve them up. Honestly, these were some of the best beans I've ever had. Maybe it's because I don't like pork and that's what's usually in them. And I also did not add smoked sausage. You can do that, but I did not. Thanks for watching.